Hi, yogis. This practice is a restorative style practice. So it's very gentle, and we will need props today so we can be cozy and supported, be able to relax. So if you have a bolster at home, definitely grab one of those. If you don't have a bolster, a couch cushion would work, or maybe a couple bed pillows stacked up. If you have some blankets as well, you could always stack some blankets or a pillow and a blanket, some kind of combination, just so you have some thick cushion to rest your weight upon. If you have some blocks handy, that's always good to just keep nearby just in case you need them. Even a spare blanket just to fill in any gaps when necessary. Other than that, set the mood, maybe turn the lights down. You could even put on some soothing restorative style music, and I will see you on the mat. Okay, so hopefully you have your props nearby, have those handy. And to get started today, I just want to come into a comfortable seat. So you're free to sit on top of your blanket, your bolster, your pillow, whatever you have, just to be more comfortable. Set yourself up in your easy seat, Sukhasana. Close your eyes. And all we're going to do is breathe easy. Every inhale provides you with grounding, pulling your energy from the crown of your head down to the root. And every exhale presses the breath from the root back to crown. Inhale for grounding. Exhale for length. Play with this visual like a ball of light moving up and down the central channel. The central channel is where the energy centers live, also known as the chakras. It's common for there to be some blockages in different areas. So when you find that you're doing this breathing exercise, maybe the breath doesn't quite clear all the way through. But you stay with it. Every breath getting a little bit further. And using this space to rebalance, to clear the chakras, to clear any blockages. Realign that energy all the way from your grounding place of stability in your root, your pelvic floor, all the way up to your crown chakra and even slightly above it, connecting to the powers that be, connecting to divine guidance, to wisdom and intuition. On an inhale, bring your shoulders up towards your ears. Exhale out the mouth, heavy drop of the shoulders. We'll take a couple of those. Inhale, squeeze the shoulders. Heavy drop. One more. Inhale, squeeze. And let it go. All right. Bring your chin down towards your chest. Roll left ear to shoulder. Come down through center, right ear to shoulder. And we'll just sway back and forth, making this movement your own. So if you feel areas that need a little extra love, a little extra time, then you hang out there a bit longer. Bring your chin back to your chest. Rise your head up. And we'll come off the bolster or your prop. Slide that off to the side. Come to a tabletop. And then we'll just come up to downward facing dog for a pit stop. Press your hips up and back. And then explore a little pedal of the legs. Bending one knee and bending the other knee. Letting the hips sway side to side. Lower your knees down to the mat as wide as the mat. Sink your hips back to your heels, and then go ahead and grab that bolster. So you're going to put it the long way in between your thighs. So snugging it in as close as you can. And then you can either stick with this and just simply walk your chest down, taking a child's pose with one cheek to the prop. There are different ways that we can set this up as well. So if you have a blanket, you may like putting that over the top edge of the bolster so you have a little pillow. If you have a block or a blanket roll, you could lift up the far end of the bolster, slide the prop underneath, and now you've got a little bit more of a ramp, making it a little more comfortable. The hands could even slide underneath it, giving the support a little hug, or just let the arms be by the sides. So let's start with the right cheek so we're all together. Soften your weight. And as I had mentioned in the beginning, you always can keep things nearby to fill in the gaps. So if you're finding there's some space, perhaps between your lap and the bolster, or any other little areas you just want more support, you can just sort of stuff your blanket into the spaces, and then your body can really rest down and relax. So as you get there, soften. Allow your body to be heavy, and just simply breathe. Start to lift your head. Swap over to the left cheek and settle. Begin to deepen your breath. Start to lift yourself up and off the bolster. As you sit back up tall, we'll move the props off to the side. Shift forward to tabletop. And just take a little bit of movement. Little cat-cow motions in the pelvis. Doesn't need to be anything extreme. Just to get the body woke up a little bit. Woken up. Okay. So we're going to prepare to set up for a supported half pigeon. Again, there are a few different ways to do this. The first option I'll give you is by using the bolster to sit on to lift your seat a little bit, lift your profile. So we're going to take the bolster or the pillow across the mat. You can also do this with a folded up blanket, right? If it's not as thick as the bolster is, you'll just be lifted but not quite so lifted, and that's fine. Once you've got the bolster across the mat, you're going to step your right foot over it, so you're taking like a low lunge. Heel toe your right foot across the mat. Drape your knee wide to the right, and you're going to sit on the bolster. Now this version is a little bit awkward. The shin's really far forward, so we can lift up the bolster and let the heel slide underneath a little bit. Now here, we're going to come forward, and you may find it useful to use a block, another bolster, more blanket, something like that, to lift your chest. And you'll come down and rest. Now, a different way to do this, if you didn't want to have this big lift under your seat, right? Some of you are a bit more mobile. So what we'll do instead is take traditional pigeon in the legs with the shin across the mat. Again, maybe a blanket or just something minor to support the hips. And then we'll take this pillow out in front and then rest our body on the bolster. So you find the version that's working for you. If half pigeon isn't so good, instead you could take a supine figure 4, still using your bolster by putting your feet on it when you're on your back, and then just hanging out here. You could take your hand to the thigh if you'd like, but maybe just sticking with this relaxed version. You could even take this on the wall to get deeper, right? Putting your left foot on a wall and having this figure 4 shape. So find the variation that you want to take. I'm going to use a couple bolsters. Once you've got yourself situated, soften, relax your efforts, and breathe. It's common in the first few moments to perhaps want to fidget around a little bit. So if you're feeling that way, just do what you got to do. Shift around so that you can eventually be still. And these postures, especially with the hip opening, they require patience. They're not always the most comfortable. So just maybe some self-soothing, easy breaths, or even a simple mantra. I am okay. I am present. I am relaxed. If you had one cheek to the bolster, consider switching cheeks now. Begin to deepen your breath. Start to slowly lift yourself off the props. Slide out as gracefully as you can. So likely you'll come back towards the lunge, sitting off on your right hip, pressing into the bolster to help lift up. And we'll just swing the right leg back. Now to counter that pigeon, we'll take the right leg back, extend the leg. You can bend the knee and take some circles in your hip. Couple in each direction, just see what feels good. And then as you're ready, we'll go right into the other side. Mirror the same version you took. Coming from the lunge, heel toe the left foot across the mat to the right. Sit your hip on the bolster. Snug the heel underneath if that's what you're going for. Again, the hips show up differently. Oftentimes one hip is tighter than the other. So if that's the case, support yourself as you need, right? If your profile has to lift up even higher, that's fine. But try to stay in somewhat reminiscent of the same kind of shape. When you're ready, go ahead and lower down. Find that comfortable place. Bring a cheek to the support and breathe. If your head is resting on one cheek, go ahead and switch sides. Begin to deepen your breath. Start to bring yourself back upright. Slide out of this by sitting on the left hip, using your hands to press up and slide the left foot out. And again, you can take little counter movements, extending your left leg back, bend the knee, roll the hip open, take little hip circles if you like. Okay, so clear off your mat space a little bit. We'll need to have the bolster next to the mat so it's easy to reach for. So if you do have a bolster, oftentimes they have this little handle on the side, so I'd recommend having it the long way with that handle easily accessible. Swing yourself around so your legs are out in front. And then we're going to grab behind the thighs and just gently roll the spine down to the earth. Okay, with your feet bent, with your knees bent and your feet on the floor, we're going to lift the hips up, prepare to grab that bolster and slide it underneath the hips, resting your hips down upon it. So we're coming into a supported bridge pose. And then you're welcome to either stay here with the knees bent and the feet on the floor. If you'd prefer to try straightening one leg or even both legs, you can see how that version feels. Allow your arms to fall where they may. Palms on frontal hip bones is grounding. Well, you could also take a more open expression, work with the back bend shape, and let the arms come overhead. Once again, you'll just find a place to land, soften your effort, and settle. If you have one of your legs extended, now's the time to switch to the other leg. Once you find your new position, settle back in. If your legs are extended, start to wiggle your toes. Bend one and then both knees, placing your feet back on the earth. And then we're going to make sure that the low back is in fact settled and grounded on the support. Take 1 and then 2 feet off the floor. And then just kind of let the knees sink in towards your chest. Allow the knees to come a little bit wider. So it's sort of like your happy baby, but more relaxed version. So you can loosely grab hold of the thighs or knees if that feels better. But try to just let gravity do the work. Let the legs spill in towards the chest and hang out here. Feel your breath moving, the belly soft and expanding between the thighs. Just about 4 or 5 more breaths. Start to now let those knees come back overhead. Set 1 and then 2 feet on the floor. And then I want you to lift your hips up. Press your prop down. So now your low back hits the floor and the bolster is more underneath your legs, underneath your knees. Put your feet on top of the bolster and then draw both knees into your chest. Take a little bit of a rock side to side. And then we'll just do a brief twist, dropping both knees over to the right. Ground the knees by taking your right hand on top of your left outer thigh. And then the left arm comes into either a field goal position or a full extended arm. Just 3 breaths here. Take your knees back up to center. Readjust so the hips are even. And then the knees will come into the chest, drape over to the left. Left hand on top of the thigh with your right arm in a field goal arm or a full extended arm. 3 expansive breaths. Come back to center, square everything off, and then we'll go ahead and drape the legs over the bolster. Feel free to adjust it, so you could always try turning the bolster up a little bit so you have more height. That oblong end kind of fitting into the pit of the knees. But again, the idea is comfort. So whatever position you find that's working for you, that is perfect. Allow your arms to rest by your sides, palms on frontal hip bones if that feels nice. And then we'll just be here for a short final rest. Soften your face and your jaw. Let go of any control over the rhythm of your breath. And just allow yourself to be. Shavasana. Feel free to stay as long as you like. If you're ready to get moving, we'll start by deepening the breath and adding little movements into the hands, feet, ankles, and wrists. Extend your arms overhead. Take a reach, a little wake-up stretch. Eventually you'll curl your knees in. Roll to your right side. Give yourself a moment for transition. With eyes closed, press up to an easy seat. Sit up tall. And we'll take the hands together in front of the heart. Bow your head for a moment, thanking yourself for making the time for practice to slow down, rejuvenate, and do a little self-care. Let's close practice by bringing thumbs to third eye. With love, light, and gratitude, we bow. Namaste.